Okay, good morning. Happy Friday. I hope you've had a great week. I am having a great week. I'm also going to have a great weekend. Spurs this coming up in the Champions League final. I wanted to get that one in. Welcome. Thanks very much for joining me today for our webinar with Chris Yena, the sweeper system. Really looking forward to this one. Chris is an old friend. And I mean, we've known each other for a while, as well as being really old. No, he's not that old, honestly. Yeah, we've been chatting about doing this for a while. I've had the pleasure to work with Chris. He just had the urge to vomit, says Matt. Mate, there's going to be plenty of that. First had the opportunity to meet Chris back in Hillross days when I joined. He was one of those people who is actually, ribs you, banter, all the rest of it, but was incredibly supportive right from day one. And the sort of friendships continued. And we've had the opportunity to do some work together. We've had the opportunity to play football together. We've had the opportunity to do so much stuff together where it just made sense to kind of flow over and to do a webinar together, which is why we're here today. What you're going to get from Chris, he is, I'll give you a bit of the background, 25 years in the industry, both in the corporate world and in the SME world, which I think is really, really useful. Currently general manager of Warrringal FS Financial Services. And the approach he's taken to the business is one about systematizing, and the reason it's called a sweeper system, for those of you who are familiar with football, Arsenal fans wouldn't be, but we'll move past that anyway. Used to be, maybe. Anyway, moving on. A sweeper in football is generally the last defender on the pitch, and it's a fairly niche position. The person who plays it needs to be skilled. They need to be a great reader of the game. They need to be a great passer. But what essentially the sweeper does is he can see everything from the back, and he tends to run the game. There have been some fabulous sweepers throughout sort of the history of football. And therefore, when we're talking about this webinar, I thought that concept of understanding what it takes to drive a financial planning business from behind the scenes. In other words, to have that business that is highly systematized, that you can manage the system, make sure it all works, spot things that are going on, and equally importantly, not have to see clients if that's not what you want to do. And that's essentially what Chris has built. And we're going to dive into how he did it, where it came from, and equally importantly, the systems that he put in place, including how he sort of leveraged XPlan. And we're going to talk, because he's a big power user of XPlan. I know XPlan is one of those things that a lot of people struggle with. So it's always good to sort of put to one side all the gripes and understand how somebody who has adapted and has used it has managed to make it work. What you also need to know about Chris, as well as business owner, as well as working with advice firms, he's also an elite sports person. Professional football back in the day. In addition, Justin Butler loves XPlan. In addition, he is a fully qualified, let's get this right, elite coach accredited by the Australian Sports Commission and the Victorian Institute of Sport. And a lot of what we've spoken about through the years is how the link between what he does with the business, as well as what he does when he coaches, as well as what he does, as a sports. There's so much sort of integration between that. So, without any further delay, what I want to know from you, so we can move this in the right direction, because sure, I can ask a bunch of questions, but the way this is going to work best is if you get the answers you want. What's the main thing that's driven you to be part of this webinar today? What's the main reason you're here? Go over to the chat box, which is it's called chat. There's one called chat and there's one called Q&A. We want to use the chat box so we can have a bit of a chat between everybody. But I'd love to know, what's the main reason you're here today? What's the thing that's driven you? What do you want to know? What do you want to ask? What insight do you want to get? What are the solutions you want from being here? Type it in the box and let me know. George, welcome. Hey, George, to both Georges. George from Elton, how you doing, man? It's good to have you here. Anthony, welcome. Daniel too. Jared, good to have you here. Gordon, mate, thank you so much for your email yesterday. Very, very kind. Jenna, welcome. Jen, how you going? John, good to have you here. Josh, Justin, love to know what you would love to get out of it. Lyle, Matt, hope you're well, man. Michael, Paul, Peter, dude, again, thanks for that response yesterday, and Rob. Okay, we've got Justin, looking to build a scalable business and interest in low-touch offer for smaller clients. Interesting. Peter just wants to get the most out of technology, don't we all? Lyle, how to get the most out of XPlan. Externally, looking for efficiency, perfect. Matt's just to hear the guru speak. I've never regretted listening to him. I have. No, that's not true. Okay, perfect. Keep it coming. If something comes up, I want you to head over to the chat box. If you have an insight, if you have a question, just head over there, pop it in there, and we'll try and pick questions out as we go. But I'm going to make notes. But for the meantime, let's head over and Chris, let's turn your camera on, unmute. Let's start your video. Let's get this show on the road. Chris, you there?
I'm here.
Mate, how are you?
Spurs.
Oh, love it. What a weekend.
No, it's just the longest intro in history.
Hey, you like that?
That was good.
I
do feel old, 25 years.
Mate, I was about to drop in with the whole, let's have some quick wins to start it off.
Get rid of that corporate speak, mate.
Yeah. Well, the story behind that is when I first arrived at Hillross, I stood in front of the whole team and I said, I want to get some quick wins. And Chris just burst out laughing. And a year later, I think I was still trying to get the quick wins. So you came through. Yeah, that was lovely. Good way to start.
Yeah, you learnt quick.
You do, mate. I find it like, well, let's just talk about the Spurs thing, because football's a big part of your life. You actually, you're a North London boy originally, aren't you?
Yeah, well, really East End, but my whole family were, and sorry to bore everyone with the real football chat, but my whole family were Arsenal supporters. So just to give them the shits, I went for Spurs. And been a Spurs fan ever since. So yeah, it's a great day on Sunday morning.
That is so unlike you to just do something to give people the shits, right?
Yeah, my old man never forgave me, I don't think.
No, mate, we were talking on the phone the other day, and we'll get off the football speak. So, and I was saying, I can't. It feels like only yesterday when Spurs had to beat Wimbledon to stay up in the Premier League, and here we are. I'm pinching myself a little bit. So anyway, dude, I do remember that. I believe it was the year that Jurgen Klinsmann came back and scored the goals. Anyway, let's ditch the football speak, despite the fact
enough of that.
It's a glorious weekend, and let's get stuck into chatting about things. Man, we've known each other a while. Let's just put it that way. But I guess, you know what, while we've had conversations in fits and starts, I really want to dive in today, not just about the XPlan, but talking about sort of a bit about how you sort of this journey of yours. So for those who don't, know where you came from, what the business is all about. First, tell us a bit about Warrringal. What kind of business is it? Who do you work with? Who do you help? How big is it?
Yeah, so we call ourselves a general advisory firm with in-house specialty. So we're not, we don't specialise in self-managed super funds, but we do them. We don't specialise in aged care, but we've got, specialist accreditation advisors here who work in that. We can do everything from cash flow through to direct equities. So, and we just want to work with people who want to take advice. So from that perspective, we're not an open church. We're quite selective, but at the same time, we don't. I wouldn't call us a niche operator.
Okay.
So there's a distinction between that. So yeah, we're an inch wide. We're not an inch wide, mile deep. We're a mile wide, inch deep type business.
Love it. So I mean, obviously you're not from around here originally. Can you give us the story as to how you managed to end up in financial services in Sydney, in Melbourne?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. My very first job when I was 15, I didn't quite get through school. Well, when I was 15, I worked at a general insurance mob called Legal and General, and I was just pushing papers. But next door were the Prudential guys, and they used to drive big white Jags and, nice smart suits, and they looked the business, And I thought, I'll have myself some of that. And anyway, cut a long story short, I didn't become a professional footballer for long. I was good, but not good enough. And I went travelling, and I met someone in Australia and decided to immigrate to Australia. So when I came to Australia, I needed to get a job fairly quick. And so there were loads of sales jobs back in 89, 90 in financial services. Apparently there was some stock market crash that led to that. I don't know. And I happened to see an ad for the good old AMP. And so I applied, and lo and behold, I got that job. I think they would have taken anyone just quietly. But so that got me into insurance sales, and I learned a lot of good things and a lot of not so good things in that process.
Okay.
I bought a business, sold a business, and then I didn't really know what to do. And my manager at the time, Paul Nicola, great man, says to me, "Why don't you come into management?" And I said, "Oh, mate, I don't want to do that. Only failed advisors become managers." And he said, "No, have a crack." So I went through the process, and it was a ridiculous amount of interviews and processing stuff. But anyway, I got to the end, and I thought, well, I'm not going to let these buggers tell me I can't have this job. So, I went all in, and I got that role, and I was there for 7 years in AMP, and made some great friends. And it's actually quite a crying shame to see what's happened to them, because They were at one stage a very, very good business, but unfortunately lost their way. And then I was fortunate enough to move into Hillross, which is where you and I met.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's some names on the attendee list there that are from those days. So it's nice to see. So thanks for listening, everyone, especially my old Hillross friends. And I had a wonderful time there, and that was really the grounding for me. I saw some really, really good operators, and that's one of the advantages of being in a corporate. You get to see what works. You get more so to see what doesn't work, but also you get put through a load of really, really good courses that at the time you think, what the F am I doing here? These are boring as batshit. It's like doing year 7 maths and thinking, I'm never going to use this. But eventually you do. You get to a stage where you build up a skill set, and you don't know that skill set until you actually have to put it into place. And that normally happens when you have a change in career. Yeah. And so that led me to, I've been there 15 years in corporate, and, I enjoyed it, but I was getting stale, and I was just safe and happy. And I was starting to become one of the people that I used to dislike in corporate. So I didn't want to do that. So I looked for an opportunity, and I love financial services. I love people. Love working with people, love seeing people succeed. And so there was an opportunity to look at this business, which I did. Took us 18 months to cement the deal. So I won't go into the intricacies of that, but it's good to take your time, because where you start's important. And 8 years later, 2011, 2019. So May 2011, I bought this business. Yep. We're vastly different to what we were, even though we might have a lot of the same clients. And so, we've been on a wonderful journey. And it is this is not something you can do on your own. You need support, either internally or externally. You need support. And I think you're kidding yourself if, you can succeed on your own. I think those sort of days are numbered. And being involved in team sport all my life, I've never really been good at stuff on my own. Yeah. I've always needed supportive teammates, and I'm the type of bloke who plays better in a better team. Yeah. And so that's what I've tried to do here, and I'm very fortunate. We've got some wonderful people working in our business.
It's funny. My background's rugby. Rachel's background is swimming, and the difference in the way we view things, she's obviously very individually trained hard, whereas I'm more about, that team environment. I think it does shape a lot of things when you see the difference. You can spot the people who are individual, that come from individual sporting backgrounds versus those who they've just grown up around teams. You really can do everything.
And look, each personality has its role. You can have very individual, single-minded people in your business. Yeah. But success through others is just so much more rewarding. It's a better environment for me.
For me too. Let me ask. I want to sort of take it back to the corporate thing, because I read a study many years ago when I was launching the startup incubator by the Kaufman Institute, which said that it talked about the average age of first-time founders that made a success of it, which is a lot older than people think. But it said that 75% of successful business founders, they come from a corporate background, because they get that sort of, as you said, the grounding. They get to try things out. They don't necessarily have to go do the hard yards and burn their own money. But I'd love to know, obviously, all that time of corporate would have given you a sense of what kind of business you wanted to build, and the kind of business that just wasn't for you. Can you give us an essence of maybe, or a couple of examples of what you learned that helped you come out and go, right, now I know what Warrringal's going to be?
I was very fortunate very early on in my corporate career to come across Jim Stackpool. Before Jim Stackpool had SCAT, Strategic Consulting and Training, and we affectionately named him Scat Cat. And I still hated it. Yeah, he hated it. Yeah, I still think of him as a good friend of mine, and I spent a lot of time with him. And the learnings I got from that, because again, he'd seen loads of businesses that I had. And so talking to people who've had that experience, you get to hear the stories that don't work. And so you think, okay, well, why didn't it work? Was it people? Was it process? Was there another reason? Was it just the wrong time? Because some of the ideas you hear are really, and you start to realize, there's a common thing here. They don't work because they just don't work. So sometimes you're better off not to waste your time. And so in small business, time is everything. And 1 week in a 1 week in a small business is like 4 months in a corporate. It's, you know, things move very quickly. So having exposure to seeing what people do really well. And the biggest one was structure. Those that had a structure in place around delivering advice, around delivering service, around, you know, delivering anything really. If you have a look at, any business that you go into, you know, Officeworks or Macca's, or look how systemized they are to deliver, you know, an experience. There's still people there. There's people are still heavily involved in the process, but they're not the process. The process is systemized. Yeah. The person delivers. And so good businesses did that. They didn't spend a lot of time in administration. They didn't spend a lot of time, you know, not doing client-facing work. So one of the big things I picked up from Jim was that if you're not spending 60% or more of your time in front of a client, you know, your profitability will suffer. And so, you know, we try and work here to 80+% client time, facing time for our advisors. Okay. So to do that, you've got to build a lot of stuff in the background. And if you're the advisor doing 80% of the client facing time, you don't have 20% of the day is not going to cut it to deliver what needs to be delivered. So, you know, to your sweeper system, you know, directing things from the back. You know, when I started this job, I mean, I love working with people. I actually enjoy speaking with clients. I hate all the compliance and administration work that goes with that. Yep. So I just wanted to add value where I believed I could add the value, and that was in supporting people to succeed. So, you know, systemization, process delivery, running interference, all the stuff that everyone on this webinar has to deal with every day. If you had somebody else taking care of that for you, how much more would you enjoy your role, and possibly how much profitable would your role be? And I dare say better client outcomes, because you're spending time where the value really is at. Sorry, long answer to your question. So cut me off, because I will just keep going. No, as you know.
I was just going to jump in and say, you know, Rachel's dad was a chef for years and years. Yeah. It's funny, people talk about the McDonald's thing, and if you go into a top end kitchen where they've got like properly professional chefs, you will see a business that is just as systematized. Everyone's got their job. They know what they're doing. They've got their stations. Everything's pre-prepped. They're running it like clockwork. And I think the one thing I like to bash up against is this idea that just because you're structured, that doesn't mean you're cookie cutter. Just because you've got a system doesn't mean the output is going to be low quality. Quite the opposite. You know, if you're going to deliver a great experience, regardless of whether it's cheap, expensive, fast, or comprehensive, if you're not.
Yeah, restaurants are a good example, actually. So I do, as you know, too. You know, my wife Nikki's runs cooking schools, so I see how organised those people have to be in a kitchen. But you look at a menu, you can choose what you want. There's not just one option, you know, but that kitchen needs to deliver whatever comes in. So that's the generalist advisory firm for me. You know, you don't just turn up to a restaurant and order, you know, steaks. There are steak restaurants. There are niche operators. Yeah. Okay. And no different to financial services, but they are very systemized, and they're systemized for a reason, is it drives profit.
I mean, the margins are tiny in restaurants. It's really hard to make money in restaurants. So if you can do, as Jamie Oliver just found out. Yeah. Mate, I do want to ask, why generalist? Why not niche? I mean, that kind of goes against the grain, which is very unlike you.
Yeah. Yeah. I did toy with that. To be honest, I think I'd get bored. I like the variety. So it was definitely a personal choice. We could have become a self-managed super fund specialist. I mean, I have a personal bent towards that. We could have become a risk specialist. We could have become retiree specialist. I mean, ironically, our business does have a lot of retirees because the people I bought the business for retired in their mid-60s. So obviously, you know, their clients were a lot like them. Yeah, I just think variety. For me, doing the same thing every day, I wouldn't necessarily enjoy that. I like to be able to hear the stories of people, where they've come from, why they have the issues they have, and you get that in a generalist firm. You know, you're more open to people's all-round issues. So, you know, I enjoy that.
Okay. Just want to circle back on something you mentioned, which was that you didn't want to get stuck in the compliance. That was one of your motivations when you came in. and you managed to do it. What do you see as being the bad habits, the things that you do that a lot of advisors, for whatever reason, don't, that keep them in that? What are they doing differently?
I think a lot of advisors spend a lot of time in areas they don't have an expertise in, but probably think they do. And the biggest one I see in that is portfolio construction. That's a huge impost on a business, and it works for some. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that just understand where your strengths are. And I think a lot of people spend a lot of time in the administration space, so they think they're adding value. In our business, we call it tension relieving or goal achieving. So is what you're doing just relieving some tension for you through the day because you can't really be bothered handling the difficult stuff? Or is what you're doing really goal achieving for you and your client? And if you're critical enough in your own self-appraisal of the work you do, it's easy to focus on what matters. Because there's a lot of stuff you can't control. And if there's stuff you can control and you work on stuff that matters, if you work on those two things alone, your business will succeed for it. So don't waste your time where you don't add value. Don't waste your time where you don't have expertise. Outsource it. Be prepared to pay for it. It'll free you up to generate more income because you'll be doing what you're good at, and you'll be able to charge appropriately for it.
And it's interesting. It's really easy to come in the morning, and I do it all the time, and you suddenly go, what do I get into? And you get into the first thing that's there, or you get into the thing that's comfortable, as opposed to stopping and going, hold on, do I really need this? Or is that actually just, it's almost like it becomes mental chewing.
Well, it's still one of the best books ever written, Steve Covey's 7 Habits. Is it important or is it urgent?
Yeah.
Focus on what's important. Because sometimes the urgent things aren't really that important. They're urgent for someone. They might not be urgent for you.
Yeah.
But important tends to be important for most people. So, and being able to do that, or having the skill or learning the skill to do that, is a lot easier said than done. But it is a habit. It is a habit. You can teach people to do this, it's not overly difficult. It's not, and you can systemize it too. Right.
You can.
So I'm not autocratic here. I don't think, in that there are some things I absolutely make decisions on, and people might not like, and quite frankly, I don't give a shit. That's just the way it is, and they've got to get on with it.
You're the gaffer.
Yeah, I'm the gaffer. That's the way it is. You don't like it, find another team. So from that perspective, though, we hire good people and allow them to make decisions. So they have a lot of autonomy here. And that alone, I don't need to sit there and say, you need to do this, this, and this. They know. We talk about the process. We talk about, it's no different in my environment where you have a team talk, you set the instructions, everybody knows their role. You go out, play as a unit, and deliver the outcome. And football, that's to win a game, right?
Yeah.
In our basis, it's to put our clients in a better position than when they first came to see us. So it's not overly complex. Our industry, and we still are, even though we'd like to talk about being a profession, is hell-bent on overcomplicating everything. And as an owner of a business, you have the ability to totally deconstruct that. I'm not saying you should be non-compliant, far from it. We're very compliance tough here, commercially compliance tough, but it has to be a deliverable for a client and for you as a business.
So
I lost you there, Stu. You still there?
No, I'm here. I'm right here. George.
I thought you'd fallen asleep.
No, I'm just, I look like this normally, unfortunately. George just asked, he wanted to give a bit of background, like a bit of the metrics, because George is a bit of a metrics guy. Number of advisors, support staff, number of clients per advisor, revenue per advisor, as much or as little as you're willing to sort of share.
Yeah, happy to share everything. Open book here. There's no secrets. So we have 3 advisors. So I am registered as an advisor, mainly so that I can maintain my CFP, and it also allows me to do seminar work, because my role is distribution in. Go find the clients, get them back to the factory, and then let the people who have the skill deliver the advice. So, but if you don't count me, there are 3 other advisors. They have a responsibility for between 100 to 120 clients each. Our ongoing revenue across that book is about 1.3, 1.4 mil. We have funds under advice of close to 200 mil. We have 2 support staff in the office. We have 1 offshore, and we have an outsourced paraplanner. We don't do any paraplanning work internally. So that's our structure. Board of advice that sits above that, who, tell me I'm an idiot at times, tell me, I've got my head up my proverbial, which is their job. But ultimately, that's a cleaner structure as we have. So I hope that answers. Does that answer that question?
No, that's perfect. Actually, quick straw poll. Can you put in the chat box? If you have a board of advice, just put yes. If you don't, put no. I'd love to know sort of how prevalent that is, because it's one of those things that's really, really useful to have. Even when you're small, just have a few people you can bounce ideas off. And most people don't do it, I think. Matt, let's. Okay, so Matt, no. George, no. Would love to know if profit margin, says Matt.
32% EBIT.
There you go, 32% EBIT. That's bang on what it damn well should be. If not, yeah. No. Peter's got one, which that doesn't surprise me at all. No, George wants one. No, says Jenna. Okay, Chris, let's dive into Warrringal, because that's a phenomenal background. Day one, you walk in the office. There's stuff that the business has got, and in your head, there's stuff that you want it to have. Talk to me about that initial phase of taking over the business.
I went for some quick wins, Stewie. You got to. It's the old, eat the elephant one bite at a time, and don't take too much off too early. So you walk into a business that's been established for 20 odd years before you got here, and staff have been here for, some staff have been here for 15, 16 years. And, they're worried what's going to happen. Are we going to have massive change? Are we going to lose people? Are we going to... So the first thing that I did was just reassure people that, we're on a journey, and while you're here, enjoy it, because who knows how long you will be here, how long that I might want you here. But at the moment, we're a team, so let's work together. And so basically it was just spending time with people, reassuring them. I mean, these people have families to feed. Everyone worries about their own survival, their own little tribe. So you had to give reassurance, because if they weren't comfortable, they wouldn't deliver for me. No. So we spent a bit of time in that area. You've been on the same courses that I've been, Stewie, so you know about the 7 S's.
I do.
Sharing the vision, setting the strategy, talking about the structure that we might need. And then they sort of got a bit of an idea of my sort of style, what I was like, what I'd accept, what wasn't acceptable. So then you sort of drive culture a little bit. The systems that we started to put in place, because we had a wonderful foundation here from a relationship perspective with clients. There wasn't a great deal of back-end system. And that's the XPlan story. And then you start to look at, okay, so what skill sets do I have? Do I need to upskill? Do I need to move people on, give them another opportunity? Am I prepared to spend the time in upskilling, or is it better just to bring new people in? So the staff issue actually from a selection process was actually at the end. So we didn't come in and go, right, we don't like you, get out. You don't look like us. You're not wearing the right type of T-shirt. We took our time in that. And I think that probably paid out in spades, because we have a lot of established relationships with clients who would have got really nervous had advisors just moved on shortly after we took over. We would have probably destabilized our business. So the transition of the key advisors, the 2 previous owners, took 18 months. And in that, it doesn't sound like a long time, but in that time we had 3 reviews with our key clients, and did transition over that 3 reviews to the 2 upcoming advisors who were associates at the time. They are identified as our future advisors and who are still here. That's Jeremy and Catherine, for those of you who know our business. And yes, it sounds really easy, but unless you have the framework in your mind and you can't articulate those types of things to people across a desk, they're not going to come on a journey with you. So that sort of framework, that 7S framework, works really well for me, and I use it a lot in my business at any time I want to make some changes.
Love it. So here's the question I want to ask. You've come into this business, you've obviously purchased it, financed it, whatever it is, and you must have been acutely aware of the fact that the relationship that the business had, maybe I'm wrong, was with the staff that were there, with the advisors.
Yeah.
not necessarily with you. And you deliberately made a decision that you weren't going to step in and necessarily have to own all those relationships. Talk to me about how you did that, because that's a tricky balancing act.
Well, the hard thing was making the decision early on, because I enjoy spending time with people and I enjoy sitting down, telling stories, understanding. And I still do sit in some client meetings, not many, mainly because I think advisors say I talk too much, which is quite true. But I just like I like to know our clients. So from the start, I would have added an additional transition to client relationship transition at some stage, because if I retire at 60, which is 23 years, 7 years away, then I'd have to transition relationships again, and I didn't necessarily think that would be good for clients.
Yeah.
These clients are in their early 50s through to 60s. They're going to have 25, 30-year relationships with us. So our advisors are younger than the clients for that reason.
Okay.
And that gives them and that was a deliberate choice. So, our advisors are, mid-30s, mid-40s, and just turning 50, just in early 50s. So it was easy to position the expert, as in Jeremy, Catherine, or Rebecca, as the advisor, because it wasn't going to be me. But what the comfort that I brought to those clients was that I had a understanding of how businesses operated. I had an understanding of how to manage people. And we gave them in the handover, we gave them the surety that, this business, one of the cornerstones of this business is sustainability, and that we would be there as a business for them when they needed us. And so that doesn't need me to do that. I don't need to be the one delivering that.
So let's I want to jump into XPlan shortly, because I reckon this, you're a real systems thinker, and I do want to get there. I've got one question I want to ask is, obviously you came in and you had that blank sheet of paper, and you've managed to do it by making it clear that the communication channels were not necessarily with you. But if you're an advisor on there and you're thinking, God, I wish I could start again, do you think it's possible to transition a relationship where you're a senior advisor and everything's coming through you, and transition it to a team like yours? Or do you think?
Well, I can tell you, and that most consultants ask that question, and it's a good one, but it's been happening for years.
Yeah.
Right? Financial planning's been around a long time. Client relationships have transitioned through ages. Like it's not something new, right? Clients are very fickle. That they want to know what's in it for them. Yes, they love the relationship they have with their advisor. And if you talk to advisors now about Royal Commission, most clients will say, yeah, they're dodgy advisors out there, but my bloke's really good.
Yeah.
All right. So it's not, they value the relationships when it's there. And if you transition a relationship, you just got to make sure you understand that it's not about you, that it has to be about them. And you've got to put it in, what this means to them and what the benefits are to them. And if you can answer those two questions when you do a transition, clients will go on the journey with you, because they understand that you're doing it for them. So yeah, it's not, when I'm 6 foot under and long and gone and this business still exists, that I'm sure client relationships would have transitioned maybe more times.
Yeah.
So it's not, I think if you think your clients die with you when you retire, they're on the corner pulling their eyes because you're no longer there to help them, probably says more about you than it does about them.
I also want to just add to that, you look at every study of human behavior and the way people view loss and gain, and loss is the bigger thing. Like, if you can say, look, this is going to be better, we're improving the business. Firstly, that ticks that box. But also the thing is people are naturally attuned to, well, I don't want to sort of drop out because I've invested a bunch of time. They know everything about me. I'll have to explain it to someone else. I might stick around and see how it goes. So
but I think, sorry to interrupt you there, Stu, just to give some practical info there rather than, it happens. You need to have a system or a process in the delivery and the handover. Mm-hmm. Transition isn't just, here's your new advisor. And I'm sure people understand that. I'm absolutely certain. Yeah. But give me the detail. What are you going to say? Why are you going to say it? What does it mean for them? And what are the benefits for them? Because you've got to, I'm not saying you should be scripted, but you've got to be able to answer those questions and tell it in a story that adds value to them. And understand that when you go into that meeting room, the purpose is to transition relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's nothing wrong with having transition meetings. That doesn't talk about advice. maybe you undertake the review and you have and we did that with a number of key clients. We got them in and we said, look, this is where we're going. This is where we're heading. This is why these are, your current advisors, much as they've done a great job for you over the years, it's time for them to retire and enjoy the fruits of their labor. This is what we're about. This is what we're going to deliver for you. This is how we're going to deliver it for you. What are your questions? You got any concerns? How can we work together to make sure that you're still... So take them on the journey with you, and they will absolutely pay you back in spades. Because there was one that we had a blind spot on, and that blind spot was that we underestimated just it was a family relationship, and we underestimated the value of that relationship, and we didn't give it enough attention. And the feedback was that the blind spot for us was that we overlooked the value of the relationship in their eyes. So that meant we didn't spend enough time in the transition piece. Now, we still have that client and they're still a valuable client for us. But we spent time with them, thanking them for their feedback, understanding what they actually meant and what would they like us to do about it. So what would you like us to do in order to make sure you have that comfort level? If you deliver to that, how can they not transition with you? It's got nothing to do with advice. It's got nothing to do with, whether you're in a pension or a super, a self-managed super fund. It's about relationships, because that's what our job is. We just happen to sell financial services. Okay. And unfortunately, until we don't have product involved, we still will be selling something. But value of relationships is absolutely critical. I'm confident that we could pick up our business and let's say we transpose the skill set into our people somehow overnight, and we'd be able to go and deliver another service because of the way that we systematize and deliver to clients' needs.
I agree with you on the majority of it. I think I just add in to say, my take on it is I think there's also a transformation piece in there. Like ultimately financial planning or most professional consulting is about selling or helping people to make a transformation from where they're at now to where they want to be and overcoming some of the...
I'll tell you what, Stuart.
Yeah.
You should run a course called Business Transformation and Business Optimization. There's an idea for you.
It's not bad. We should get Jim in to do the expensive one.
But you're right. You got to transform before you optimize, because if you try and do it the other way around, you're quite right. You're cutting corners effectively. Yeah.
I agree. So actually, let's pull a question from Justin and then let's dive into the XPlan. Justin's sort of he's got a similar situation to you. He's sort of based up in the beautiful far north Queensland, but he's got a wide variety of clients in the area. And I think the opportunity is to really dominate that particular area. But to do that, obviously niching is not necessarily the thing you can do. He's trying to build a scalable business and he's really interested in sort of the low touch offer out there, which I assume is low touch and also low cost. Have you had a crack at this in the business? What's your view on this?
So this is the old personalized above the line, systemized below the line methodology. Below the line being, the relationship is not personal, but it's with your business. And above the line is very personalized, high touch type model. Personalized, systemized. We do have a systemized offer we have a number of large corporate clients, which we systemize our offer to their members. And we use that as a downstream value to move those clients into the private retail offer.
Yep.
But we decided that we would be personalised, and so we work on a low client number. Our aim ultimately is to work on a low client number, high value fee pay model, and that's why we're working to roughly trying to get our client advisor numbers down to about 100 per advisor. We're probably a bit over that, as I said before, at the moment. So advisors are under the pump a little bit. But to do that, they've got to pay an appropriate fee. And if they don't pay an appropriate fee, you tend to top that up with systemized delivery. Yep. And I think the danger of that going forward is that to be able to demonstrate that there's an advice relationship, so I'm talking like a regulator now, to demonstrate that there's an advice relationship there, you're going to need a lot of good data, and you're going to be able to have to fully systemize advice delivery, which is possible in XPlan. But just be conscious that unless your data is valid, up to date, you might struggle longer term to build a fully systemized offer. That said, if you focus solely in a systemized offer, nothing wrong with that. It's if that's where your focus is, you can build some huge profitability off the back of that, because technology is cheap. works 24/7, and it doesn't take a sickie. So yeah, it's pretty good if you can get it to work properly.
I'll add to that. Justin, you know this, Justin. We looked at a model that's come from a book called Hooked, which is a big darling in Silicon Valley, all about how to build habit-forming products. And ultimately, the one thing we know now is that most successful technology has an element of habit-forming and dopamine. And that's what gets people involved, what gets them to stick around. And I think if you're going to go down that route to build a low tech, the tech is important, but you can't go out and buy My Prosperity and launch it to clients and expect them to use it. You've actually got to work on how can I get someone to, start using it, start to, continue to use it because they feel like they're getting somewhere, and finally invest enough time and effort and data into it that they can want to continue to maintain it.
But also, I think, Stu, what are you trying to achieve here? What are you trying to deliver for your end client in a systemized world? Are you trying to make it easier for them to manage their money? Are you trying to make it easier for them to engage with your advice business? Are you trying to make it easier for them to self-serve? There's technology for each of one of those three options.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you want your business to be. So again, what's your strategy? What's your structure going to be? And again, neither one is right or wrong. But given that I'm a relationship-driven style person, the personalized offer is where we want to spend our time. But to free up people's time, you need good systems.
Love it. Hopefully that was useful, Justin. Let's talk about XPlan. Now, you've jumped into XPlan. I was actually chatting to a couple of guys from IRS, and your name came up. What is it about your approach to using XPlan or your attitude towards it that differs from, frankly, so many people out there?
It's easy to say that software doesn't work when you don't spend time trying to understand what it can do for you. I still think we're only using 15 or 20% of what XPlan can actually do. And there's other people out there who do some wonderful things with XPlan. I just think, wow, why am I not doing that? But implementation takes time, and we will do that. We work on a 30, 60, 90, 120-day process here. So some of the ideas I'm working on in XPlan will gradually get released into our business over 30, 60, 90 days. Some will take 120. It'll take time. But ultimately, any process that needs to be replicated, that you do time and time again in your business, that really shouldn't need human intervention, should be automated, and you can automate it in XPlan, and you can make it happen. So all it needs is a trigger, and that trigger is for somebody just to push a button to start a thread, and the rest should take care of itself. I will add here that we do use Active Campaign as our CRM.
Yep.
So I love XPlan for systemization, financial planning. The CRM is, in my opinion, subpar. And so we use Active Campaign because we can run automations off the back of that. So if you're familiar with that, if some of you have ever logged into a website, you've gone to a shopping cart and you didn't complete the order, 2 days later you get an automated email saying, you haven't completed your shopping cart, click here, that type of thing. That's an Active Campaign style automation. That's intuitive. And it's all done through setting up of rules and processes, etc. And XPlan's the same, except that it's technical in the sense of it's around, it's time-based triggers as opposed to event-based triggers, which is what a CRM is. Perfect.
So what are the main things that you have managed to sort of get your head around and apply XPlan?
So, I think most of us do reviews, right? We're probably spending more and more time doing reviews, taking more and more time to do reviews, unfortunately. So we're trying to automate our whole review process. I reckon we're 60, 70% of the way there. So automation is from, picking up the review date, sending the email to invite the client, sending web-based links for people to complete data to return to you. If that data doesn't get returned, automated email follow-ups. If that information doesn't come back, cancellation of appointments. So all that stuff is automated in our business. It's not, it doesn't. We just set the appointment, and the triggers will take care of themselves. Okay. I recently worked with Michael Kinnins from Iris around automating our third-party authority process. So you know, using barcoding in XPlan. And I'm still learning a little bit about that. So it's not, I can't tell you that that's really working in our business at the moment, but, you know, we're trying to automate that process so that when third-party authorities expire, they automatically, or they're about to expire, the client automatically gets a notification to fill out the form to renew it. It comes back into XPlan via email. XPlan notices that, scans it, sends a reminder to the fund manager to say, here's the third-party authority signed by the client. Please add it to your, and that's automated. We don't touch it. And it just registers against the client's folder as a note. Now, that's something new. That's part of our 30-60-90 that we're working through at the moment to implement. That technology has been around XPlan for years. All right? So it's just knowing that what you can do and how you can do it. And to be fair, I don't know how to code XPlan. I know what I want it to do. I've got an engineering background, so I like process. I give that to a coder, some of our work, and say, here's the process. I want you to build those templates and put it into XPlan for me. Because guess what? It's not worth my time trying to work out how to do it. Yes, it costs me, but it saves me money in the long time.
This is what I understand. You come in, you got XPlan. I mean, you wouldn't have been an XPlan guru when you came out of Hillross, would you?
No, but I like tech.
So what did you do? Just get in there and start playing with it? Did you start how much of an expert did you have?
No, you don't have to be an expert. That's the thing. You just need to know what you want it to do. And then you find the experts to build it for you. Okay. So, you know, I wanted to automate this process. So I went to advisors who I knew were using XPlan. Said, show me what you do. How do you do it? Okay. How did you do that? Oh, we use this person to do that. Great. Can you introduce me? Okay. So we just built our networks. We spent a lot of time with our business talking to our staff about, you know, the old post-it note system where you build your process out. Yep. You know, what are the issues? And then as you build it, so don't wait till it's perfect. Just build the bloody thing. Test it. You'll find holes in it. That'll help you fix it and enhance it. So even now, some of the new compliance regimes that are coming, we're finding our thread and our tasks need to be up, take into account COVID. And that's really easy to do, adding into a process. So you'll get to a stage where you can do that yourself because you'll get a bit of an understanding. But if you don't know how to build a thread, just tell somebody who knows how to build a thread what you want it to do and build it for you. It's not an overly difficult process and not overly expensive either.
How much does it cost to hire? Just once you know what you want, to go and find somebody who can do it for you.
Well, I can tell you our total XPlan cost so far, with deployment, training, development is probably nudging 30 grand. But if you just want someone to develop a thread for you, or, you know, it's I don't know, $1,200, you know, for a full review process, simple review process. It's not overly difficult, but I mean, you could do it yourself, but it depends how long you want to spend doing it. But you spend the money once.
Yeah.
The process delivers every time. And so you don't have to continually keep redoing stuff. So if you're in your business and you're drafting the same email 3 times, it's a stupid analogy, so I apologize. But if you're drafting the same email 3 times, you know, by the 3rd time, you're an idiot, you know, template it, you know, template it and just make it happen, because it's a waste of time.
Or even just, you know what, when you're sending it out, most email tools will let you tag an email now. So just tag it.
Yeah.
And then the team grab it. And every month they go and just clean up and they go, oh, we've got 7 templates you wrote, because you're sitting there going, I just wrote the War and Peace of first appointment summaries. Get it. Grab it.
Well, without scaring everyone, we've got close to 85 email templates in XPlan for different things.
Yep.
And we've got 15 different threads, and probably off the back of that, close to 100 different tasks. So it takes time to build up that sort of library, but you just got to start, because if you're slow to automation, if you're not automating it, that means someone in your business is doing it, which means it's costing you more money than it's costing a robot to do it.
It's like that. I was going to show you. We built this webpage. I'm not sure it might come up now. But this is how easy. You don't even have to have it. This is a page that we built. It's got all of our most common emails, and all you have to do is like click on it, and it brings up. It talks to your email client. So I mean, like, when you actually get your head around it, this booking discovery session. You can't actually see what I'm doing, can you? Damn. Let me just show this. Because, this is the whole thing. So many people end up writing the same bloody email over and over again. Here we go. This. So even if you don't want to sort of start by putting it into the software, this is, it's a tool we have, our Dare Can messages. Again, I can just go discovery session, allow it. There you go. It's opened it in my email client, and that's ready to go. I can fill it in. Same deal with canceling an appointment. Bang.
So I'll tell you what we do there, Stu. We don't allow, on some of our templates, we don't allow edit.
So
it picks up the advisor in XPlan. It will pick up the advisor who's sending it. So their advisor name goes in. Yeah. Standard text. It has the recipient's name in. So dear Stewie, or whatever you like to be known as, Erickson or
Mr. Bell's fine.
Mr. Kane or whatever. So and then that just goes.
Yeah.
So what I know you might want. There might be something you might want to add, right? So I want to add an extra note in there. I want to do that. So with some of our templates, we allow prompts to occur, but in most we don't.
And can I just add in there? I think it's important that, like, a lot of people come and say, I want to do this with the XPlan. I want to get them to do this with the templates. Classic one is I want to have a fact find that people can go online and fill in. And I'm going, do you know what? Sometimes the easiest way to do a fact find with a client is jump onto an online meeting, bring XPlan up on screen and run through it with them. You can do that in an hour of their time, an hour of your time, and everybody's out there trying to build all these online input fact finds, ignoring the fact that
I've got fairly strong view on this one.
Okay.
Sorry to cut you off.
Sorry.
But if I was a new client of an advisor and you sent me a 24-page form to fill out, I'll tell you to get stuffed. So that's not how to build a relationship. So information on that is to a web page that has 12 questions. You can fill as much or as little as you like out. We come into the meeting with a notebook and a pen and paper because we want to talk to you. From that process, we'll work out what we have to do for you, and we'll then issue you with the terms of engagement that'll tell you what we think we can do and what it will cost. Unless you engage me, I'm not doing any bloody work.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with you.
And we're actually starting to charge for our first appointment as well. So we're getting to the stage now where we have really good relationship clients. Our business development is good. Our referral rate is high. And we can, in a position now where we can select people in or allow themselves to select them out. Either they won't want to pay the fee. We might miss an opportunity or two. I will never know that, will I? So I'm not going to waste time worrying about it. But I think, spending too much time up front, again, from what I think people do well, those who do it well from that process and it works for their client base. Those who don't do it well spend a lot of time at the front end and don't really get an engagement. They're living on the hope of getting a fee at some stage in the future. Yep. So, be transparent, be upfront about it. Tell them what it's going to cost you. Our minimum fee is $5,000. If you don't want to pay that, I totally respect that, but you need to find someone else.
Fair enough. Let's we're going to jump in as much questions that they've lined up, and I want to answer them all. But just in case people have to head off, and I don't know how much longer we got you for, if people did want to sort of connect with you, if they wanted to ask some questions, if they're like, if they really want to sort of get, chat to you about whether or not you can help them, how can they get more information about you and what?
Yeah, look, I'm happy to help out. So I got a lot of help when I first started. So people were very generous with their time. So I'm more than happy to give back. I think I've sent you a link, Stewie. You can circulate to people if they want to book a time with me, or if they just want to connect on LinkedIn, or I know they can just So if you use that link, that way you can just book some time straight into my calendar. And I'm happy to talk. It says 15 minutes, but I'm happy to talk longer if you need to. I just also, I didn't realize how long we've been talking. So I just want to make sure that we've hit the mark for those people that have registered today. So if we haven't, please put your question.
Yeah, put them in now. Let's run through the questions. So let me bring it up. Matt wants to know, have you been able to get Active Campaign to integrate with XPlan for file netting?
No, not yet. And that's not because of Active Campaign. That's because of the Open API issues in XPlan. It is going to happen though. I've been speaking to both Iris and Active Campaign, and that CRM functionality is going to happen. They've told me that will be this year, but I don't know how true that is.
Cool. Not sure why file noting though.
Because your emails will go as a file note into XPlan.
Okay.
Correspondence, yeah.
Okay, got it. Right. Because if you're doing file, my view, audio file noting is the way to go.
Yeah.
Jenna, how do you handle change management with tech systems? Good question, Jenna. How do you handle change management with tech systems and staff? She's found that support staff usually embrace it more than the advisors. So I've introduced Threads to 2 businesses successfully already, and a mid-implementation with a 3rd one. She's just curious about communication or change management options. Great question.
Yeah, good question. Advisors are a pain in the ass, aren't they? Because they always want to do it their way, and their way is the only way, and they've been doing it this way for years, and it's not going to work, right? You've got to position it with them around the benefits to them. By implementing this system, adopting this system, it's going to give them what, and for each advisor will be different. Some advisors will give them more time. That time might be they might be able to get home earlier, spend time with family. That time might be that allow them to actually get through their workload. That time might be that they can spend more time with their high-end client. Tell them what the benefit is to them. If they still don't adopt it, find a champion. Find somebody who has adopted it, is getting some wins, and, highlight those. I play favourites here, right? I don't have a big team, but I play favourites. When people are doing the right thing, we praise in public, criticism in private. We make a big deal about it. So, and eventually, if they're still not on board, find someone else, because that's a culture issue.
It's interesting. I imagine you do the same thing. You got an underperforming player. You wouldn't make them feel okay about it. You'd make them realise that they're outside the team.
I had a scenario in one of the state teams that I coached a few years back. And the number 9, who's the goal scorer, was our best player, but was an absolute cancer. He was just terrible, and we had to cut him. And the stick we got because of that, because he was quite a high profile. Everyone knew he was a great player. We didn't take him to the national championships, which we ultimately won. But the player harmony as a result of doing that was sensational. And you cannot be held hostage for one person in your business. And often I often tend to find it's the person at front desk that is doing that. But anyway, that's a separate discussion.
That's interesting. Attaboy, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Matt was wondering if you can speak a little bit about your referral process.
Yeah. Well, we just asked Matt. So we ask at every opportunity. So it's on our email footers. It's on every bit of correspondence that goes out. We share the successes of their referrals. So we reward our referrers, a couple of movie tickets or something, nothing too flash. But yeah, we spend a lot of time with our people. So, why would they not want to see the benefits for their friends and family that they receive? So, it's not hard. If they're not referring to you, then there's something that's happening in their relationship with you that is stopping them refer. So that's through the client process. So it's just embedded in our process. We ask at every opportunity, no matter whether they referred or not. My role in business development, spending a bit of time with accountants, solicitors, mortgage brokers, just general people in the industry. So there are some advisors that refer to us as well. So it's about relationships. Are people prepared to hand over their relationship to you, trusting that you will deliver to that relationship and not damage theirs? If you can position your offer to demonstrate that, it really is really not hard. It's really not hard.
As they give them a reason to refer. People refer their friends because they don't want to do a favor for their friends, not as a favor for you. So if you can arm them with, something they notice in a conversation about, something that you can do or help with, that's a good way of doing it. So
yeah, it's what's in it for them. What's the benefit?
Totally. Peter wants to know, what's your favorite cup of coffee?
Is that Nonna's?
Yeah.
Is that Peter Nonamaker's asked that question, hasn't he? Good on you, Nonnas. Yeah. Love you, mate. Haven't seen you for a long time. He knows the story, so I'll tell you quickly. My favourite coffee is a short black, and that came about from my son, when he was 6 or 7, was out for lunch with my wife, and they were taking coffee orders, and he said to my wife, "Why don't you have a Chrissy Yena, Mum?" And she says, "What? Have a Chrissy Yena, a short black." So ever since then, my favourite coffee has been a short black. So yeah, it's very good. Well remembered, Nonnas.
Well done, Peter. His other question is, how do you something and what minimum fee set? How do you, maybe it's how do you work out the fee you charge and what's your minimum fee?
Okay, yeah. So we have done the old process of working backwards, working out what the costs of doing our business, etc. We do job costs, so we don't sit down and go, it costs X for this, X for this, X for this. What would you like? Therefore, your fee is this. Our minimum fee is 5. We know that if you've got a family trust, a corporate structure, that adds some complexity. Your fee might be 12.5. So we job cost it based on experience, knowing that the level of work we need to undertake. We don't sit there and itemize costs. I have been asked to itemize my cost, and I've refused. So that's the cost of doing business with us. I understand some people like to have an itemized bill. We don't provide one.
Yeah, no, that's good. George has got a good question here, which is if you're going to buy a business, if you're going to buy another business, let me start again. Would you buy another business, or would you choose to grow organically?
Well, George, I think there's going to be massive opportunity. So I'd say I'd be looking to buy. I think there's going to be, but I also think there's massive opportunity to buy competency, because I think there's going to be a lot of good staff up for grabs in the next 2 to 3 years. And I think buying competency is far more important for me than buying another business. So competency will help me grow more organically. And I don't necessarily need to grow more organically. I probably need to be able to leverage our existing base better. Mm-hmm. But I would buy another business if culturally it was a good fit for us. And if that came with some good competency, that would be an absolute bonus for us. But yeah, we're in the bushes having a look, because we think there's going to be some great opportunity in the next few years.
Yeah, I was having this conversation at the accelerator, and we were just saying, look, we can talk about prices, but pricing of businesses, but at the end of the day, if a business comes along, great people, great systems, great marketing, engaged clients, the price you're gonna pay premium for it, regardless of whether.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's because you're buying the model. Matt wants to know, what's your opinion on institutional versus self-licensing moving forward? Good question, Matt.
Good question, Matt. Especially as we just got our own license in December. Look, I've been in the institutional space for a long time. I can see the value that they deliver on scale. Yeah. But I think that world is ending. I think their cost structure is under threat, which is why you're seeing a lot of those big institutions exit wealth or looking to exit wealth. As a result, I think those that are looking to sell will just keep their costs low. Those that are looking to survive will be leveraging up their costs to advisors. Yeah. Look, again, for me personally, it came down to a cultural thing. I was happy where I was. I wasn't necessarily unhappy. It just got to a stage where, the value set for me wasn't aligned. And so when you don't have relevance or alignment or both, it's time to move on. And that's in any relationship, in my opinion. So I lost alignment with my licensee. And so if I was going to change, I decided to get our own license. And the reason that we did that is that we just feel we're an established business with good, strong processes. We can manage the risks. We can take a little bit more control over our outcomes. And ultimately, we think we can deliver better outcomes to our clients as a result. So that was the rationale for us. I don't think one is better than the other. It depends solely on your business. My business wasn't ready to get its own license 2 years ago. I was ready to go. I wanted to move, but I think I would have blown my business up had I done that. We didn't have the right people and the right structure to do it. So I had to wait and build that. So yeah, just you have to be careful what you're running away from sometimes as opposed to what you're running to. Neither is wrong. I just think you need to find what's right for you.
I also think you're good with the detail, Chris, and you're happy to manage things, and you're happy to play that role. And I think if you're a business, you're going for self-licensing, I think you've got to be comfortable diving in and really taking care of that.
Yeah, I can tell you, if I was being an advisor and trying to transition a license, I reckon I would have gone mad, because it's taken us 4 months. I mean, fund managers are notoriously paper-based. It takes a long time to do stuff. And managing that process, taking those calls, if I was still having to deal with clients, I just don't think I'd have been able to do it.
Yeah. Mate, this has been really, really insightful. I want to ask you one final question. If you're an advisor and you're listening and you're one of those advisors using the 15% of XPlan, which part of the software system would you go, you know what, master this, get on top of that, that's going to give you the biggest bang for buck?
Okay, so I would say to you, start with this in mind. Look at people first, then process, then profit. if you start driving process without thinking about the people, you might not get some profit, but you might not have a lot of people on the bus with you. If you just focus on delivering to what your people want, you'll have shed loads of processes and maybe not much profit. So understand what you need to deliver first. Think about how you're going to deliver it. Build that, as in build the overview, the structure, the straw man, whatever you want to use, and then find somebody to XPlan it for you, because you will lose your mind trying to do it yourself. So I want to systemize my review process. What does that mean? That means I want this to happen here, this to happen here, this to happen here. Great. Can you go build it? That's what you need to do. You just need to be the architect. You're not the builder. Just be the architect of your system. Find somebody else to build it, and then get a gardener in to come and cut the grass every now and then. It's not hard.
Build it on a whiteboard, build it in Excel, hand it off, and then you're done.
But be clear, because the person who picks it up will deliver to whatever's in that little Post-it note.
Sure. Yep. Dude, this has been absolutely enlightening. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. It's been a long time coming. I'm going to pop that chat. If you do want to engage with Chris, talk to him about how he's done it, shortcut some of your journey, grab the chat with him. You'll have a great discussion.
And can I say, Stewie, also, if we haven't hit the mark for you, or if there's a question you wanted to ask that you haven't, you can just get on there and tell me what your question. You can book the time, but tell me what your question is, so that when we do catch up, we can make sure that we're helping you. Like I said, I'm happy to give back. But also shout out to you, Stewie. I have engaged you from time in your business, and I think the biggest learning for me is that you can't do it on your own. You do need help along the way, as all good players need good coaches. Yep. And it's a team effort. So don't try and do it all on your own. It's too hard. It's too hard.
Oh, ditto, mate. I mean, from the moment I landed in Hillross, you were very kind with your time and your support, and also helped me develop some thick skin, which was good. But we've had the opportunity to work together. See some, like Jim. We spoke about Jim earlier. He was one of my inspirations for doing what I do. So long may it continue. Yeah, terrific. Thank you. Dude, thank you so much. Here's to Sunday. Fingers crossed. And come on. So come Monday. But man, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. To everybody else out there, I hope this has been useful. Please, if it has, pass it on. If you know somebody who's struggling with this, feel free to sort of direct them to YouTube. We'll pop this on there. If there's somebody that's struggling with this and you think they could benefit from talking to Chris, please do that as well. Right. If you want the detail, book a time. I'm happy to share. Yeah, exactly. He really is. So excellent. Let's leave it there. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Chris, enjoy it. And I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Thank you, Stu. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time. Ciao.